Hello and welcome. Okay, so today I'm going to share with you something I've talked about a lot, which is understanding. Let's see if I got protein drink on my face here. Understanding that you live in a universe that follows spiritual commands. And there is one spiritual command that is absolutely necessary in order for you to achieve prosperity and bliss. Now, this may sound like I'm talking about religion. I'm not talking about the Ten Commandments. I'm not talking about having to meet some requirement of some deity in order to get them to love you or accept you. Sorry, I have to follow my one command and put on my little spiritual accoutrement. So we're talking about that, how to follow that one commandment. There is one commandment that the universe will respond to, that will provide you with happiness, joy, love, and success. And it is a command. So you must understand that. This is not optional. And this may sound like religious dogma. So I understand that some people are going to have resistance to this idea that there is a commandment that you must obey in order to achieve happiness, success, and prosperity in your life. So if you do not follow this command, there is a punishment. I use that in quotes because it's not a punishment that comes from somebody's disapproval. So God isn't sitting up on some throne saying, if you don't do what I want, I'm going to, if you've ever read, if you ever read the Old Testament, you find out how really horrific that God is, whose name is Jehovah. I am that I am. And I'm here to tell you that God that a lot of people worship is actually the human ego. I am that I am. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. He goes into all of this. If you do, he either says, you either love me or you hate me. If you love me, I will give this and this and this and this and this. If you hate me, I am going to put boils on your body. I'm going to curse all of your children. He goes into this whole thing about if you don't love him, he will punish you in all these ways. It is not that kind of a commandment. This one commandment is not about pleasing anything or anybody. It's about a spiritual principle that you can look at as science. There are laws governing how electricity works. There's the law of gravity, right? I have my sunglasses right here. The law of gravity states that if I don't put the force to hold it up in midair, it will fall towards the earth because the earth has more mass than these glasses. Yep, works every time. It's a law. It's not, if it falls on my head, it's not because I did anything wrong. I just happened to be underneath something that was being pulled towards the center of the earth. It's a law. This is a law of how the universe works. You live in a matrix, and I don't care how you see that. If you want to see that as a computer program run by whomever, that's fine with me. I could care less. If you want to see it as Maya, which is illusion, that is created for us to be able to come and experience three-dimensional reality and to, whatever, however you want to look at it. If you want to see it as my ancestors did, if you want to see it as the web of weird. You ever heard that? Web of weird. I'll write it down in case you're new to the channel. But this is how my ancestors described three-dimensional reality. The web of weird. The web of weird means that, and I like this explanation for me. I like this better than a lot of other explanations, but it's in the same vein as what I just said. The modern mythology is to talk about we live in a computer matrix. That is the modern mythology that we use to symbolize and comprehend this illusion of reality that we live in. The Vedics called it Maya, which is the name of the goddess who creates this world of illusion for fun. She does it to enjoy herself, and so that's part of it. That's part of the, we're getting to the commandment. The whole point of this is to enjoy it. So if you're listening to me and you're not enjoying your life, then something is off. I'm not judging you. I'm just telling you that something is off. You're not in alignment with the laws that govern how this matrix works, this video game works. That's it. If you want to take it personally, you can. If you want to think that you've done something wrong, if you want to think that you're evil, if you want to think that there are evil beings that are trying to make things difficult for you, if you want to believe that God is up in heaven pointing at you, if you want to believe that the devil is trying to make things miserable for you, if you want to believe that the elites in government, that the Illuminati, or if you want to believe all of that, I'm not going to stop you. But I can tell you right now, if you want to, and understand a lot of people don't want to, but if you want to, you can drop all of that. I'm giving you permission to drop all of those beliefs. If you want, and let me just ask you that question. Do you want to be happy? And you can answer that for yourself, yes or no. If your answer is yes, you want to be happy, then my next question for you is, are you willing to let go of your beliefs about how the universe works and your relationship to the universe? If your answer is yes, then you must be willing to die to your ideas. And it may be, your ego may really be attached to the idea. How emotionally attached are you to the idea that God sits up in heaven and looks down on you and has determined your life? How emotionally attached are you to the idea that there are elite beings who run the universe, who have an agenda to use you like a battery to fuel their lives? How attached are you to the idea that there is a group of people called the Illuminati who want to control you and get all of, how attached are you to any of those ideas? You don't have to, you just ask yourself this question. Because if you want to truly be happy, you're going to have to get rid of all of those beliefs. Because your beliefs govern everything that you create in this universe. Your beliefs. And here's the thing about it. If you believe this is a computer program, if you believe that this is Maya, that this is illusion, if you believe this is the web of weird, where web means web means something that has been woven, comes from the word to weave. Weird means that which has been woven. There are three strands that weave to create this fabric around you, which you think is three-dimensional reality. It's the past, the present, and the future. These three come together and weave an illusionary matrix. Matrix means the mothers, by the way. The word matrix means the mothers. And it has always been the mother, Maya, who weaves the world. So when you say matrix, you're talking about the three Norns, past, present, and future, the three goddesses, the three giantesses, who weave this illusion. So if you believe that this is a matrix, you are saying with the word matrix that it is woven together by the goddesses who create manifested reality, and it's an illusion. So if you want to be happy and you are willing to let go of any and all beliefs, Because I'm telling you, some people aren't willing. And some of you listening to me, I guarantee you, when I tell you how this works, you will reject it. You will reject it because it's more important for you to hold on to your ego attachment to what you believe is true than what is going to bring you happiness. I'm just telling you right before I even get there. Some of you will reject what I have to say, and it's because you're unwilling to die to your ego. Even people who want to believe that they live in misery, that they are being tortured by the gods or by Jehovah or by the devil or by aliens, even people who will complain to all day about how unfair it is for them, if I give them this one truth which will release them, they will reject it. So that's why I'm asking you, how willing are you to be happy? Are you willing to drop every single belief that you have in order to be happy? All right, so there is only one commandment, and it is a commandment. If you do not obey this commandment, you will experience misery, poverty, disease, loneliness, self-hatred. You will experience all of the negative things to some degree, any or all or some of all of the things that you consider to be negative. It is a commandment. It is not a choice. I mean, it is a choice, but it is not optional. The commandment is simply this: you must identify and follow your greatest joy. You must do it. If you do not, you will suffer consequences. If there was a God, as you can tell, I don't believe in the Jehovah of the Old Testament. If there was a God, he doesn't give out 10 commandments, he only gives out one. He says, I'm going to, according to this, I'm not saying this is the truth, but if there were, it would be this. God would sit on his throne and he would say, I created you. Your one commandment is you must go forth and have joy. You must do the thing that I have told you to do, which will give you the greatest joy. If you do not do that, I will punish you in all these ways. It is exactly the same, although that's not what happens. That's not how it happens, but it feels exactly the same. The question is, do you know what your joy is? Most people don't. And the reason why they don't is because if everybody knew what their joy was and they went out and did that, then you would not be able to be controlled. If you know what your joy is, you will do anything and everything to accomplish it. And if that means to disobey the rules, you will disobey the rules. When your joy is more important to you than the love of your family, your parents, your friends, your society, your government, when your joy is more important to you than that, nobody can control you. Here's the other great thing. If you are living that joy, if you know what that joy is and you are living it, you're bulletproof. Nobody can touch you. No being, no God, no spirit, no demon, no government. Nobody can touch you when you are living your joy. All right, so now I can see behind this, I can see all kinds of comments coming in. So let me just take a look here. So first off, if you're new to the channel, this is a question and answer. I am not interested in your opinion. I don't care if you agree with me or disagree with me. I'm not interested in you cheering me on and telling me you agree or telling me you don't agree. I don't care about your opinion. I'm only interested in questions. So the way to interact is you write a question. You write the word question and then actually write out a well thought out question using verbs and punctuation and good grammar so that I can understand you. If you don't, and you're just one of these people and you need to, I'm going to end up blocking you because I can't get to the questions. Okay? So that's how this works. This is a question and answer. It's not a free-for-all. I know that's the way it's done on most channels, so my apology, but that's just so that I don't, because if that's what's going on, I miss people's questions, and that's not fair to them. So if you have a question, you can go ahead and leave one for me. So let me go through and see what the questions are. So TT says, yes, I'm happy. Then there's no reason for you to watch this video. If you have everything you want, then you're already living it. You don't need anything from me. What's going on here? But then he goes on to say, and I'm breaking my own rule here, I'm looking for the real reasons to be in the world. So you aren't happy. If you were happy, you wouldn't need to answer that question. So you're not happy. You're maybe in delusion or in denial, or you're not completely there. Because if you were, your purpose for being in this world is one, having the joy, going and doing that one thing that gives you the greatest joy. How do you know if you know whether or not what your joy is? When I ask you, if you could do and be anything in the world, what would it be? If you don't immediately have the answer to the question, then you don't know. And more than likely, there's probably a 70% chance what you think you want is not really what you truly want. So let me back up and tell you the theory of how all this works. If you want to understand this, go on to my channel and look for, there's a video called 5 Rules to Master the Matrix. Go on to my channel and watch that. Here's how this works. I know because I've proven it in my life, and I've proven it in the lives of all of my apprentices and students who have followed my directions. If you follow my directions to the letter, it may take you a little time to figure out how to do it, but if you follow them to the letter, you will get the benefits of what I'm telling you. So the first thing to understand is that the matrix, this Maya, this illusion, this three-dimensional reality was created by you. So remember I told you before, you have to be willing to drop all of your beliefs. If you don't believe that, this won't work for you. If you don't accept that belief that you created the matrix, that you are in fact God, that you are infinite and omnipotent, and that you yourself designed, manufactured, and created the matrix that you now live in, if you don't believe that, nothing else I tell you will work for you. So you have to start from there. Now the good thing is you don't have to fully believe it to accept it. Just accept that as your reality for the moment. Now, the result of that is that now that you have accepted that you yourself have created this matrix that you feel a victim of, that now that you know that you've made it, that means that you are 100% responsible for everything in your life, both positive and negative. If you do not accept that, it won't work for you. What I mean by it won't work for you, meaning that you will not be able to have complete, total bliss and happiness. You won't have sense of purpose. TT says he's happy, but then he goes on to say he doesn't know why he's here. You won't know what your sense of purpose is if you don't accept those first two things, that you created the matrix, that you are 100% responsible for both positive and negative, everything you are experiencing right now. Third thing, this universe that you created, which is your avatar, what your infinite, immortal soul needed an avatar. So you needed a computer program to be able to interface with this computer program, because when the soul just comes here, it's infinite and it's too limiting. It can't function in this limited environment because it's too limiting. So it needs some way, an avatar, to interact with it. Otherwise, it won't be able to function. So we created these human bodies with these brains that have these computers and this software that allows the soul to come into this limited body and then interact through the eyes and the brain and experience in the emotions and experience three-dimensional reality. Now that you've done that, now you're in your video game. You're in your matrix that you've created. Now, before you got here, you designed this matrix to follow certain rules. Now, this universe, this three-dimensional reality, this Maya, this illusion, this matrix believes that you remember that you are infinite. It looks at you as the master. And so it will respond to whatever command you give it. It doesn't know that you've forgotten. That's the whole reason you created it, to forget. You wanted to forget you were infinite so that you could have fun. Because it's no fun. Have you ever played a video game that you've mastered? It's no fun. It's only fun if there's a possibility you could make a mistake. It's only fun if there's a possibility that you could be injured, sick, poor, miserable, sad, lonely, or die. If those realities aren't there, it's no fun, and so you won't play it. Now you've got a real game, and now you're trying to remember that you are in fact infinite so that you can master this reality. Now, people think that mastering this reality will be, well, I'll have $1 billion and I'll have 7 wives and I'll have 6 cars and there's no fun in that either. You came here, each time you incarnate with one major goal, which has to do with experiencing something that's really fun. Mine is surfing. This is what I do. My entire reason for existing on this planet is so that I can live in beautiful places and surf. And right now I am living this is right across the street from my house. That's where I live. Paradise. And I am the most spiritual thing I can do is to go in that water and surf those waves. That's what gives me the greatest joy. That's my whole reason for existing. What's your reason for existing? You're going to change the world. You're going to become president. You're going to become the richest person in the world. That's your ego talking. Maybe for some people becoming president is their joy, and that's why they chase after it. But 90% of the time, people think what they really want is really coming from their fear and from their ego. The universe that you designed it to respond to you positively when you fearlessly are willing to sacrifice and die for your joy. When you're willing to do absolutely anything, even if it means your death, to experience your joy, this universe, this matrix you've created was designed by you to then respond positively. It'll give you money, it'll give you friends, it'll give you happiness, it'll give you health, so that you will have the resources in this avatar to do that one thing you came here to do, which is to have fun. It's the whole reason, is to have fun. You also created this matrix to respond negatively to you when you do not do that. Remember, I told you this is the command, the one spiritual commandment that you must follow in order to be happy, healthy, and prosperous, is be willing to die to do the one thing that gives you the greatest joy. If you don't know what that is, then you have to figure that out. TT says he was happy, but he doesn't know because he doesn't know why he's here. I'm looking for the real reasons to be in the world. He doesn't know. He thinks he knows, or she. But if he knew, he would know. I know exactly why am I here. I'm here to surf. So my whole life is about that. I'm taking the day off because I went out yesterday. The waves were big. And I had a lot of fun, but it was a lot of work. And so I had to come home and I had to get a massage. And she went in really deep and she just like sliced me up like a Christmas ham. So it's going to take me a couple of days to recover. But as soon as my body's recovered, I'm going right back out there again. I don't work. I take 2 or 3 clients 3 times a week, people who call me asking me how to do what I'm telling you how to do. That's what these links are here for. The rest of the time I live in, right now, I'm living in a 3-bedroom house right across the road from where I just showed you. I'm living right across the road from here. It's right across the road from me. That is, I walk out of my house, I walk across the road, I go down a trail, and there's the beach that is right in front of me. That's my life. I'm not doing this to brag, because it was very easy for me to create. And it was literally handed to me because I said to myself, I know exactly what I want. I'm going to do everything it takes for me to get that. I'm willing to die to get that. Means I'm not going to waste my time trying to be a good person and having a bunch of kids. If you want to have kids, great. I don't. I don't want to spend my life working in an office. If you want to do that, great. I don't. I'm 56 years old. I don't have anything over my head. I don't have any kids I got to take care of. I don't have any mortgage. I don't have any debt. I don't have anything that I need to worry about. If I want to pick up and move to another country, I can, because all I need is internet to do this. I need Skype and YouTube, and that's it. And that happened because I made the decision. I was going to do whatever it took to have my life be all about surfing wherever the hell I want to surf. I don't take any medication. You know, 60 is looking down at me. I'm in the gym. I'm stronger than, physically stronger than kids, in their 20s. Why? Because my body isn't racked with the stress and the rage of doing things I don't want to do. You want to know where disease comes from? I'm going to tell you where disease comes from. Disease comes from doing things you don't want to do, and you deny it to yourself. So you deny it. You live according to other people's standards. Your mother, your father, your wife, your husband, your boyfriend, your society. You let other people tell you what you're supposed to do because you want their love and their approval. And when that goes against what your soul wants, what your soul doesn't want that. Your soul came here to do one thing that gives it tremendous joy. And when you're not doing that, your soul gets angry. And then your body gets stressed out, and then your body starts having diseases. You start doing things like smoking weed and drinking and taking drugs and not sleeping. You start treating your body like crap because you're trying to get away from your feelings all the time. And your body gets sick. I've seen it happen. I've watched people. I've watched people my whole life, and I've watched people who have no reason to be sick, and the next, by the time, this is why old people get sick. They don't get sick because they're old. They get sick because the stress of holding on to the denial becomes so intolerable, and it builds up over time that then the body reacts. And or they do stupid things like they smoke or they drink or they take drugs in order to try and avoid. You think that you're cool because you party all weekend. Yay, I'm partying. Woohoo! All you're doing is you're denying the rage inside of you because you're not doing what you want. You do that for decades and you end up sick. You sit in front of the television and eat Cheetos all day, and you don't do anything with your body, and then you wonder why. I'm in my 40s now. Why am I so sick? If you know what your joy is and what you want, and if you're willing to die to achieve it, the universe then has a command. It is commanded to give you the health, the money, the people, the resources that you need to have everything that you want in your greatest fantasy. Okay, what other questions do we have? TT, question. Are you seeing the ego like something totally bad? Welcome to the channel. I talk about the ego all the time. Why are you asking that question? I'd much prefer that you ask me why. Why is the ego something you want to ask about? You tell me, do you see the ego as something bad or do you see it as something good? Why are you asking me? Let's get to what you want. Brittany G, question. So we're not here to achieve enlightenment in order to escape this matrix? What will you have accomplished by doing that? What value is there in escaping? You have an assumption. If you need to escape this matrix, then you think that you're, number one, a prisoner, and number two, that this matrix is evil. If you watched from the beginning, I'll say it again. In order to understand the one commandment you must follow, in order to achieve your greatest prosperity and happiness, you must be willing to let go of everything you think you know and believe. And I asked you, how attached are you? So, how attached are you emotionally to the idea that you need to escape? If I tell you you don't need to escape, does that bring up, do you get angry at me for saying that? When I tell you that you created the matrix, before you became a human, you created your matrix, does that make you angry because you feel like a victim? Achieving enlightenment in order to escape. Listen to those words. Achieve enlightenment means you aren't enlightened. But I'm here to tell you that you came into this life already 100% infinite, omnipotent. You are God. Why does God need to achieve enlightenment? So you don't think you're God. You think you're less than. You think you're this tiny little evil thing that must be punished. And so you have to achieve enlightenment. And then when you achieve enlightenment, then what happens? You don't stay here and master this video game that you created. No, you escape like a frightened rabbit. Does it anger you when I tell you all these things? If I tell you you are 100% responsible for everything in your life, the good and bad, does that make you angry with me? How emotionally attached are you to your beliefs? So no, you're not here to do any of those things. That is a complete waste of time. That's like creating the most amazing, wonderful hologram to achieve all of your greatest fantasies and then climbing in there and then trying to escape. That's what you're telling me. If you want the Matrix to start treating you like the queen that you are, who is the infinite, omnipotent, enlightened, perfected being in the entire universe, then you got to start acting like it. So the first thing you do is you decide, what is it that gives me the greatest joy? Not what is going to meet my needs. If I have $1 million, that's not it. Maybe $1 million. I don't care how much money you have or you don't have. It takes a certain amount of money for me to be able to live, how I want to live, but I don't live for the money. I go after what I want, and the universe then provides me with whatever the money is. I've lived in mountains, in cabins by myself. It cost me $600 a month to live in a cabin in the most beautiful wilderness in the world. So I didn't have to work that hard. Now I want to live my life on tropical beaches, surfing. And because I've committed that, I deserve that, and I go after it. The universe throws whatever money I need in order to, I get to live in this beautiful house right across from the beach. So you've got to be willing to let go of your victim mentality. If you're not willing to let go of it, then you will not be able to command the matrix to give you what you want. And until you want to be here, this matrix will punish you. Because the matrix that you've created, you programmed it to operate in one of two ways. You told it to reward you when you are willing to die for your greatest happiness, when you are willing to do whatever it takes, be excluded by your family, be rejected by your loved ones, be misunderstood, be alone, when you're willing to do that and do whatever it takes to do what you want, the universe goes, she gets it. Let's give her the money. She told us to give her the money when she does this. If you do anything out of fear, wanting to be accepted, then the universe says, no, she told us to withhold money whenever she's in fear. So don't give her anything. Stop giving her health. Stop giving her money. She's now, and because the universe thinks you know what you're doing. It says, oh, she's trying to experience what it's like to be limited. And now she wants to feel it. So let's just relax. Let's not give her anything so she can feel the discomfort. And then she'll remember what she wants and we'll give it to her. The universe is here to serve you. But until you accept what you truly want, you will always be, at the very least, unsatisfied, if not outright miserable. All right, so again, people like TT, please do not, I don't want your comments, because then I can't see the questions. So keep your comments to yourself, positive or negative. I only want the questions. If you have a question, write the word question so I can see it. I'm only here to answer people's questions. TT, feel free to leave if you want. Are you here to learn, or are you here to see what happened? I confronted you and your ego got clicked. Feel free to leave. I don't care. I'm not the one that's trying to figure out where I live. I'm not the one, as you say, half and half. I'm here to learn what I don't know. If you're here to learn what you don't know, then get your ego out of the way and listen to what I'm telling you. If it bothers you, feel free to leave. You can have your life, your halfway happy life. Go right ahead. It's all yours. It won't bother me at all. God don't care why I want to or not. I don't know everything. Well, yeah. So it's time to start listening. You're new to the channel, so you don't understand how I work. But when you're full of shit, I'm going to tell you. If you're afraid, I'm going to tell you. If you don't know what you really want, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to be able to see in your question what you really want. And if your question is a way of hiding from yourself, I'm going to bring it to your attention. If that's going to be a problem for you, go watch another channel. If you're willing to have what I have, you got to do what I do. And if you're willing to listen to what I tell you, like everybody who has followed my instructions to the letter, everybody who's followed my instructions to the letter always ends up getting the same thing that I get. If it's more important for you to be right or have an ego, then I can't help you. You got to be willing to die to everything. Die to your ego. Die to your beliefs. And if you truly don't know, then you shut up and you listen. That's how it works. If I want to go learn how to skydive, and I've never skydove before, I'm not going to sit there and tell the skydiving master what I think is going on. I'm going to listen to what he says because I don't want to die. You want what I have, you got to do what I do. All right. Dean Nevin's question, how do you pronounce the Norse words for dwarf home and elf home? So what Dean is talking about, in case you don't know, is according to my ancestors, my pre-Christian ancestors, they believed that we lived in a universe that had 9 worlds in it, 9 dimensions. And 2 of them, one was called the dwarf home and one was called the elf home. So the dwarf home in Old Norse was, anyway, somebody can tell me. Svart Alfheim. Svart means black, Alf means elf, Heim means home. So black elf home. So another word for dwarf is black elf, dark elf. Elf home was light elf. So there were the dark elves and the light elves. The dark elves are not demons. I'm not going to get into all that. If you want to, you can go on my channel and find out what the elves and the dwarves are. And the elves are the ascended masters of the human race. They're the shining ones. Elf means shining. The Alps, A-L-P-S, is the same thing. Because during the time of when our ancestors were, had just gotten up into Europe, it was an ice age. So the Alps, these giant mountains, were covered with, miles of ice. So you could see them for hundreds of miles. The sun would hit all of that ice, and it would just shine. So they called them the shining. So elves are shining. So light elves. Lios Alfheim. Light elf home. That's how it's pronounced. Svart Alfheim, dwarf home. Lios Alfheim, light elf home. All right, so that's not a question, Brittany, but oh yeah, I was talking to you, so good. Good, I'm glad you threw out all, let's talk about research, because Brittany says, threw all the research I've done out the window. Good. So people come to me because I will tell them the truth, and I will challenge people's victim mentalities and their victim beliefs. And a lot of people don't like that. And one of the first things they say to me is, you obviously haven't done your research. What they mean by that is, I haven't watched the videos that they've watched. And so people, especially young people now on YouTube, I sound like such an old fart. It's the young people on YouTube now think that research is watching a lot of videos on YouTube. And just because you've watched a lot of videos on, let's say, aliens implanting chakras, and you've watched hundreds of videos that tell you that aliens have implanted chakras, you think you've done research. You haven't done research. You just listened to a bunch of other people's opinions. The amount of opinions you listen to doesn't mean that you've actually done any research. Research means that you are willing to look at both sides. So let's say I wanted to prove once and for all, one way or another, whether aliens implanted chakras. I would go and watch all those videos, and then I would do research that, talks about the other side of that. And when I've thoroughly investigated trying to debunk that, then maybe I can say I've done my research. Nobody can prove or disprove aliens implanting chakras, so there's no way to find out one way or another. So, but people throw that word research out. So she means she's watched a lot of videos and read a lot of articles and or listened to a lot of people, and now she's willing to let go of all those opinions. Good. Proof is in the action. I have proven with my life what I'm telling you. I don't need anybody else's opinion because I can go out and prove it. I'm living it. I prove it both sides. I also prove the negative side. I just spent 4 months in a really toxic, destructive relationship that was really, really painful and horrible for me. And I did it to myself. And I operated out of fear. I operated out of need. I operated out of all kinds of other things. And I got the result of those things. So I've proven to myself, when I operate from fear, I get misery. When I operate from fearlessness, in order to get out of that, I had to be willing to lose thousands of dollars. I had to be willing to put, all kinds of other problems. I had to be willing to get into all kinds of problems in order to get out of that scenario. And I said, yeah, no matter what it takes, I'm getting out. I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And then the universe lined up. I got out of the lease without any problem. I found now a better place, cheaper, in the place that I want to be in. Everything lined up. I didn't have to do a thing. I just walked into my perfect reality. That's how it works. Soul Freeman, question. I have done the distance healing and have been doing the meditation on and off. I'm seeing mixed results. I don't know what that means. Some steps forward, some step backwards. Any recommendation to help my healing? I don't know enough about this to know. I would have to ask you a bunch of questions. But, here's the thing. So I've been giving you the generalized understanding. You are an infinite being that has created this universe. You are omnipotent, omniscient, fully enlightened. That's your nature. You came here to, your reason for coming here was to have fun. And there is one thing. For me, it's surfing. For you, it's something else. Having kids, playing basketball, skydiving, becoming an artist, becoming a musician. I don't care. Something along those lines. Something that is the only thing that gives you the greatest joy. That's the reason you came here. That your soul was willing to limit itself to have that experience. Now, the second reason you came here was to overcome fear. In order for that to happen, you created within this matrix that when you go after your greatest joy, all of your fears will come up. You created it that way. So you can't complain to me, I'm going after my soul desire and all these problems are popping up. I know. That's because your soul also wants to learn and grow. It can't do that without resistance. What ends up happening to most people, if they're lucky enough to know what that one thing is that gives them the greatest joy, they start to go after it, then all of a sudden the problems pop up and they have, like you're calling, mixed results. Assuming I'm right, I don't know the reasons for your mixed results. The mixed results start to happen and then they back off. So there are three places we can live. We can live in what I call fantasy land. Fantasy land is exactly that, your greatest fantasy. In this link right here, career.thunderwizard.com, that course will help you ask yourself all the questions. It will also, in case you want to become like a life coach, if you follow that and you do that, you can become a life coach. If you just follow I'm going to give you exactly the recipe that I use. When somebody calls me on the phone and they say, I don't know what my soul desire is, or I don't know what my greatest career is, I'm going to say, great. It'll take us perhaps an hour, but I will help you figure that out. And that's what they pay me for. If you follow the steps that I teach you how to do, you can do the same thing. You can become a life coach tomorrow, if you want. If you don't know how to get to your joy, go there, career.thunderwizard.com, and follow that course. So what I do is I ask people, first I go, let's go to Fantasyland. And in Fantasyland, you can be anything and do anything you want. But you don't need money to survive. You don't have to meet anybody else's approval. You don't have to get a job. In Fantasyland, whatever you want just magically appears. But again, you can't live for anybody else. So the rules in Fantasyland are you can't live to please anybody else. You can't live to meet anybody else's standards. You only have to do what you want, and you can't judge what you want. If you want to be a pole dancer in Vegas and you have guilt around that, you can't do that in Fantasyland. In Fantasyland, if what you want is to be a pole dancer, and that's what you're supposed to do. No questions asked. As long as you don't harm anybody else. Here's the other rule. What you want will never harm anybody else. You will never have to ask the question, should I do what I want or should I do what's best for others? You never have to answer that question in Fantasyland. So in Fantasyland, you don't have to have money, you don't have to have a job, you don't have to do, in fact, you're not allowed to do anything for anybody else. You must only do the one thing that makes you happy, regardless of how impossible, irrational, or silly, or stupid. And under those conditions, what is it that you want to do? You can also be anything. You can be 100 feet tall with 20 wings. Whatever it is, no limitations, what do you want? And when I ask that question, they'll either know exactly what they want, or they'll say, I don't know. If your answer to that question is, I don't know, it means you are in conflict. The conflict is that mixed state. Like you said, I'm having mixed results. So you're going after what you want, but then you run into these mixed results. The mixed results is your resistance, your karmic resistance to your highest manifestation. Your highest manifestation means you have to die. So the mixed results is those are things you have to die to. In realistic terms, you're telling your family, I've just realized that I want to be a ballerina. And your father says, no, you can't. We're a strict Chinese culture and you can't be a ballerina. You have to follow and you have to become a doctor or you have to become a lawyer or something like that. You can't do what you want. You have to do what I tell you because I'm your Chinese father and that's how we do things. So you will have to die to the idea of being a good daughter and having your father's love and approval. That is enough to kill people. People commit suicide over that. I'm not minimizing it. You have to be willing to die for your greatest happiness. When you go after that, all of those things are going to pop up in front of you to try and talk you out of it, and you will have to make a choice. You will constantly throughout your life have to choose between making other people happy or making yourself happy. And it's going to happen in all different ways. One of the easiest ones I just showed you is your parents show up and they tell you what not to do. I went through a really toxic relationship, and I was constantly trying to meet her needs and I was denying myself to try and meet her needs because I thought that's what I needed in my life. And it wasn't. It was my old issues about my mom. I had to get rid of the last little nonsense garbage about, my mother who didn't love me enough and blah, blah, blah. So I found a woman who reflected those things and chased after her. So I'm no different than you. But here, I'm now in a better position than I was before. The cheapest place for me to live, I don't have a picture of it here. The cheapest place for me to live, because I wanted to live in a house, I didn't want to live in an apartment. The cheapest one was this 3-bedroom with a lower level. I mean, it's a 3-level house with 3 bedrooms, and then there's this whole lower level. And then right across the road here is what I showed you. Right across the road is this beach. So that's what I'm saying. I didn't say what's the most expensive, what's the poshest. I was actually going, which one is the least expensive? Oh, the best one? Okay, I'll take that one. That's the universe lining up because I was willing to die to the idea of I needed this woman's love. When I realized I didn't, and then everything started, the curse was lifted and everything started lining up, and the next thing I know, I'm better off than I was before. So this is how it works. The 2 things that happen in your life are, you must go after, you are commanded by your own soul. If you want to call it God, it's you. You are commanded to follow your deepest joy, even if it kills you. That is your command. If you do not follow that command, you will be punished with sickness, misery, poverty, unhappiness. If you follow the command, the universe will provide you with all of the resources and money, health, awareness necessary to achieve that. And along the way, you will have to face these tests. This is what we call karma. Karma is nothing other than facing the tests of, are you truly willing to die for what you want or not? We live in a time, look, my ancestors, pre-Christian ancestors, like I said, those who die in battle go to Valhalla. A man was somebody who was willing to go through whatever trials necessary to achieve his glory. They knew that there were going to be challenges. They knew they might have to go to war and die. They knew that, if you go back into Ice Age times, my ancestors lived in a really scary place. There were cave bears that are bigger than any grizzly bear out there. There were cave lions. There were saber-toothed tigers. There were deer, elk, that had antlers that were 10 feet wide and they stood 6 feet at the shoulder. One swipe of those antlers would kill you. So every time they had to go eat food, they were putting their life on the line. They understood that. Everybody listening to me, whatever your ethnic background is, your ancestors went through the same thing. They understood that living life meant being willing to die for what you want. That we give glory to those with bravery. Nowadays, we have these religions that tell you everything is love and light. Just focus on what's happy. Have you noticed that the people who talk most love and light are the ones who do the most drugs and the ones who are the most angry? The ones that talk about love and light, the moment that you say, hey man, you just stepped on my toe, they'll go, hey, don't give me that negative bullshit, man. I can't handle that. You're too negative for me. These are pussies. A real friend says, oh, sorry, I stepped on your toe. Sorry about that. It's okay with me that you're angry with me. I did something I shouldn't have done. Forgive me. You're absolutely right to be mad at me. That's what a real person does. We have these religions where Jesus comes and saves you. I mean, he doesn't even give you the benefit of letting you save yourself. He has to save you. We have now, if we want to bring it to modern times, we have this pseudo-modern Gnostic idea of taking the red pill or the blue pill. I can't remember which one wakes you up. But whatever pill, you just take a pill and now you're woke, man. Let's drop acid. Let's do shrooms. I'm woke, man. No, you're not. Awareness comes from knowing what you truly want, going after it, being willing to die, and facing the challenges that come up without complaint. Saying, if I die going after what I want, I go to Valhalla, so bring it on. I'm not trying to minimize it. It's not easy, but that's how it works. When you do that, the universe you have created will give you everything that you need. Whatever money, whatever resources, whatever people, it will give you absolutely everything you need to achieve your greatest happiness. Enlightenment is nothing more than achieving your greatest happiness. I'll give you another definition of enlightenment. Enlightenment does not mean that you have gone past all of the problems and you don't have any problems in life. That is not enlightenment. That is denial. Enlightenment is the ability to have all of your feelings, positive and negative, your joy, your sadness, your pain, your misery, your fear, to have all of those feelings and still have the awareness to know what actions you take will be constructive for you and everybody else in the world. When you have the ability to do that, you have achieved enlightenment. There is nothing beyond that. There are plenty of people out there who walk around with smiles on their faces who are so cruel and selfish. They will drop you they'll get rid of you at the drop of a hat because something, hey man, that doesn't feel good to me. So, I can't have you in my life, man. That doesn't feel like love to me, bro. You're too negative, man. That's not enlightenment, that's denial. Okay, let's see if there's any more questions. So I hope I answered your question, Saul Freeman. I honestly don't know enough why the mixed results. Just keep doing it. Keep doing the meditation. The mixed results are if you eat bad fish, right? You got to puke it up. When you're puking up the fish, it's no fun. But when you're done puking, boy, does it feel good. I feel so much better now. So you're going to have to go through some cleansing. I'm just guessing. I'd have to talk to you to find out. Starmageddon, Dark Lord of all. Well, there you go. Question, what kind of benefit can I get from the medicine wheel Qigong that I wouldn't get from celestial and thunder Qigong? All right, so understand what he's talking about, you go to courses.thunderwizard.com. You see all of my books, all of my DVDs, all of my video. In fact, I got to go through all of my DVDs and do them over again so that they can be streaming, because who uses DVDs anymore? So the celestial Qigong, I recommend that you do that. Is the most powerful energy work I've ever seen, and that can be taught on video. The only thing that can be more powerful than that has to be taught in person, and it has to be taught in person because it's too dangerous otherwise. Medicine wheel Qigong is the most powerful and safest thing, in my experience, you'll ever find, and that's been told to me by Tai Chi masters and energy masters, yoga masters, Qigong masters. So for that, go to courses.thunderwizard.com to find out about that. The Thunder Qigong is specifically to connect you to the most powerful essence of the ether. Ether is the highest power. It is what the lightning gods use. So Thor is a master of ether. He is Jupiter retrograde. When Jupiter goes retrograde, even Mars, the war god, runs and hides. So Thunder Qigong will tap you into the highest, most potent form. Well, yeah, it'll tap you into that level of the ether element. Medicine wheel Qigong means you work with the 9 worlds in the 8 directions and you do different postures. So what kind of benefit will you get? Medicine wheel Qigong will tap you into each one of the worlds. So if you want to be a shaman and you want to be able to connect to all of the 9 dimensions of reality, master all of the 8 directions, then standing in those postures will align you to those energies so that you will be able to go to those worlds, experience those worlds, interact with the beings that live in each of those 9 dimensions. We talked about the light elves, for instance. If you want to talk to the masters of the human race who have achieved their own awareness and are this close to becoming infinite, they turn back and they help humans become like them. You work with the northeast direction, and with that standing posture, you will be able to communicate directly with them and learn from them and be like them. So all of them have their own specific benefits. You want to get the power of the thunder god, then do thunder qigong. If you want to have power in your hands, like if you're a martial artist, do thunder qigong. That'll make your hands very heavy. It'll give you healing powers. Medicine wheel Qigong will do all of those things as well, but it's really about mastering the 9 worlds in the 8 directions. Other than that, anything I say is just talk. Just go do it. And then you can tell me what the benefit is. Stormageddon, Lord of all. I've been using Thunder and Celestial Qigong for months now, and it's been amazing. Yeah, I agree. I didn't make it up, by the way. This is, I'm not here to take full credit for that. I just synthesized it. Okay, E minor says, question, can you do another video about surfing? Your last video was amazing. You should offer lessons. If that were my sole desire, I would. I had a company for a while that designed surfboards. And there wasn't any money in it. And I came to the realization that it wasn't as fun. It took more time than it paid back. So I'm not opposed to that. What I'd really love is to have somebody video me surfing. That would be a lot of fun. So we'll see. I mean, I'm not opposed to that, but I'm only going to do it if it's fun for me. Right now, it's more work than fun. Question, Phil Sims, what is your opinion on the Kabbalion? First off, I don't know what the Kabbalion is. Second, I don't answer questions about things I don't teach. It's disrespectful of you to ask me about some other teaching because it tells me that you're not watching my videos and learning what I teach. So don't disrespect me that way. I know you don't mean any disrespect because that's what people do, but it means that you're not watching what I teach. So if you knew what I taught, you would know that I don't teach that. I don't talk about other teachers and other teachings for another reason, because it's disrespectful to them. And I, out of my ignorance, might say something disparaging about another path or another teacher that would hinder somebody's path. So don't ask me about something I don't teach, because I might screw up somebody's progress. It's disrespectful to them. Jeannie Griffin, question, would the resistance, quote unquote, we come up against, would that be another's matrix? No. Why do you care about another's matrix? Remember what I said earlier, you will never be in a position of having to choose between what is best for you and what is best for somebody else. What is best for you is best for somebody else. Everybody's matrix interlocks through the things that are true, the things that are beneficial. That's what interlocks us. The only thing that can get in the way of somebody else's matrix is your own blocks within yourself. Your own blocks will create a block between another matrix. Their matrix has nothing to do with you. It's none of your business. Nothing anybody can say or do will harm you unless you have an agenda. So this tells me that you need to work on your boundaries. You have agendas with other people. So, meaning other people who are of no relation that seem to interlope themselves into our lives. So you have boundary issues. You think you're a victim of other people's reality, but what's really going on is that you want other people's love, you want other people's approval, and you're unwilling to look at your selfish need. It comes from your fear, because if you believed that the universe gave you everything you need, nobody would touch you. You would be totally okay with anybody else's thing. Oh, that's your thing? I'm cool with that. That doesn't do anything for me. but you go ahead and do that. But if you're like, no, man, he came into my space and he did this and he said that, and if he only did this, I would be happier. It means that you want something from somebody else because you don't believe that the universe will give you everything that you need. So no, the answer to your question is no. It has nothing to do with anybody else. What does come up is your need to be loved and approved of by other people. Then, when people don't give you what you want, you're going to be upset. You're going to feel like they're keeping you from it. I could go on and on and on, but... then she says, never mind. Well, it's too late. You already asked the question. So Sol Freeman says, seeing positive results, but it's stirring up fears and health up and down. So, yeah, your health is a result of you fighting with your own desire. And sometimes when you go after your deepest desire, you will have health issues. It means that your unconscious mind is trying to give you resistance through physical symptoms. I know because it happens with me. You know, whenever I get involved with a woman for the wrong reasons, my whole left leg and my knee swells up and I'm in a lot of pain. And that, I could go into that, the whole side of my body, the kidneys and all that. It has to do with me wanting my mom's love, and I'm trying to get it out of some woman who reminds me of my mother. So all of that stuff comes up. But once I get back into my strengths, then that goes away. Okay? So, by the way, I'm no different than any of you. That's why I can tell. I can tell what's going on with you because I'm just as human as you are. I fall into the same problems that you do. It's not, enlightenment. If I had completely achieved enlightenment, I wouldn't be in this body. So any teacher who tells you that they've achieved enlightenment is either in denial or delusional or a con man or all three. A true teacher will tell you, I'm still human, and here's how I screwed up and here's how I got out of it. That's the people you want to listen to, because again, what good is a teacher who doesn't relate to you, who doesn't have any human problems? What good are they to you? What good is it for me to go and talk with a kangaroo about how to be a surfer? Kangaroo doesn't know the first thing about surfing. Kangaroo can hop really well. I can't hop as well as a kangaroo. So me trying to be a kangaroo is a waste of time. Kangaroo trying to be a human is a waste of its time. You wanting to learn from somebody who doesn't have any human problems is a waste of your time because, you can't emulate them. If you want what I have, you got to do what I do. Because I'm just like you, I'm just a human. Okay? Any teacher who doesn't give you that is not a good teacher. To give you an example, there's a guy who I came across here, who I came to him and I said, I want you to mentor me. I said, you have what I want. He healed himself from liver cancer and from diabetes. I want to know how he did it. And he doesn't have all the fancy things. He tells me, yeah, I did this and I treat people right and I do what I want and here are the 3 things I do every day. I listen to what he says because I want what he has. Anybody who can do that, he's got something I want. That's a teacher. Intellectual warrior. Okay, that's not a question. Question. Would you say the Aruta Lagna is the image of the matrix? No. The Aruta Lagna, if you go up here to courses.thunderwizard.com and you click on astrology, you will hear me talk about the Aruta Lagna. So in astrology, Vedic astrology, not Western. Western is off by 24 degrees. Don't waste your time with it. For me, that's my take on it. Vedic astrology is the astrology of India. It's an accurate calculation and it has a lot of good things. So one of the things in there is called we can call it the reflection of the self. Most people spend their lives trying to get people to see me for who I truly am. In fact, they'll say, I just want somebody to love me for who I am. Well, I have news for you. Nobody loves you for who you are. They love you for what you do for them and how they see you. So here's another bad news. People will never see your true essence. Not fully, not completely. Maybe a mother, maybe. Nobody else will. Not your spouse, not your friends. Nobody will see you at your true essence. That's your own experience. You get to experience yourself. What they're going to see is the reflection. So when you go to the, what do you call it? When you go to the, I'm sorry, so many thoughts going through my head, I can't think. When you go to the museum and you look at beautiful works of art, you stand back. They flash a light on the picture and you stand back, because if you get too close, you can't see anything. It's just a bunch of dots on a, but if you stand back, then you see this whole picture. You can see 3 dimensions. It's like this magical portal. And so you're seeing the light that reflects off the painting into your eyeball that creates a vision. It's not real. You go up and touch the painting, it's not what it looks like. It's an illusion. You have a special gift that you created with the universe that has to do with your ego attachments to your false humility. You walk around telling yourself, oh, I'm not going to be this, I'm not going to be that, in certain areas, and that's your false humility. And what happens is that people want to see your reflection, which is a gift, it's a superpower. You don't even know you're doing it. Your job is to know what that reflection is so that you can present yourself. That's why in the beginning, if you saw me in the beginning, I didn't have any of my things on, so I threw on a couple of necklaces. It's because my reflection is the spiritual warrior. That's why I have shaved head, that's why I have the beard, that's why I lift weights. All of that is because I'm supposed to reflect that in the world. I'm supposed to be the warrior of balance, the protector. If I don't reflect that, people don't like me. I had an older brother who was a bully. In fact, I went through all kinds of post-traumatic stress disorder because of him. He was horrifically abusive to me, mentally and physically. Used to beat the crap out of me all the time, and was constantly threatening me. So I hate bullies. If I'm in the presence of a bully, I want to destroy them. And my Aruda is the warrior. So I spent years trying to hide that. Here's what that looks like. If I try and hide the warrior, I do this. Now what do you see? Do you see somebody safe? No, you see a serial killer. So when I was running around trying to hide my warrior, I ended up scaring and intimidating and frightening people. When I puff my chest out and I flex my arms and whatever, and I act like I'm a happy warrior, people love to be around me. They throw money at me. When I act like a warrior, tough guys are afraid and they walk out the door. It's because that's my reflection. It's not who I truly am. If you want to know who I truly am, you have to look at debilitated moon in Leo. That's who I truly am. But that's not what people see. They see Mars in Libra in the 3rd house, which is the warrior of balance who tells you the truth whether you like it or not. Now, for some people to go around telling people what they need to know whether they like it or not is not going to help them. When I do it, people give me money. So you have a reflection, which is your reflection that you may not like or understand. So when you go after that, you'll know what it is. So is the Aruda Lugna the image of the matrix? No. The matrix is just that. It's what do you call it? It's a holodeck. That's all it is. It's just a 3-dimensional hologram that you live in. Science, I'm not making this up. Science says that. Physics tells you that that's what reality is. It's a 3-dimensional matrix. It's a 3-dimensional hologram. So no, the matrix isn't the Aruda. The Aruda is your false, your illusory reflection within the matrix. In other words, you have an avatar. You can become the dwarf. You can be the wizard. You can be, there's all kinds of avatars you can take. It's not who you are. It's the avatar. Your Aruda is your avatar that will bring you the greatest success. So when you act and dress like your avatar, people will give you money because you help them. I don't feel like the warrior all the time. I don't want to do this. Some days I don't want to do this. When I don't feel like I'm the warrior, I still show up as the warrior and I do my job. And And lots of times I'm done with these videos and I go, oh my God, that was the worst video. I can't believe I said that. And people will say, that was the best video ever. It's because they're responding to my aruda, my reflection of me. Okay, so if you wanted that, you can go to astrology.thunderwizard.com. You can go to courses.thunderwizard.com and click on astrology. Paul Wickens, question, do you recommend buying a set of runes or making your own? I could care less. You want to see what I use? This is, by the way, Mark Graham. He is one of my apprentices, and he is one of these people that is studying all the things I'm teaching about runes. He's come up with his own understanding about that, and now he has his own business. This is what I use. It's just cards with runes on them. I'm too lazy to make my own runes. I have done it. So do whatever you want. Runes will work in whatever form you want to use them in. If it gives you power to make them, then make them. Carve them yourself. That's the traditional way of doing it. Let's see, where am I? Yeah, okay, so no, I'm not interested in anything other than your question. So Indica Farmer, you can actually write the word question, otherwise I would miss it. I see the question mark, so you're asking me a question. Do you think it's possible to heal broken bones and or teeth? I don't disbelieve anything. So do I think it's possible? Yeah. Do I know how to do it? No. I've been using magnetic healing for a while, but headaches and small issues is as far as I've been able to heal. So if you really want to use, I've got, again, if you go to courses.thunderwizard.com, you should find a link. Let me see if I can find it. I have a link. You know, I'll put it up here. I'll find it. Let me see if I can find it. Fuck. I forget. Anyway, I can't remember it now, but I basically sleep on 2 high pulsed magnets. Now, when people talk about magnets, you got to have the right kind. Just getting a strip with little magnets on it isn't going to do it. You have to have high pulsed magnets. I forget what they're called. Anyway, I've got videos on it. Go look on my channel. Just type in magnet. By the way, if you want to get the most out of my channel, figure out how to search from within my channel. If you're on a desktop or a laptop, you go to thunderwizard.com, thunderwizard.com on YouTube. Next to my name, there will be a magnifying glass. Click on a magnifying glass. A search bar will come up. Type in that search bar, not the one at the top of the page. Type in that search bar any phrase you want. If you type in magnets, something will come up for magnets. And those are the ones that I use, and they definitely very, very powerful. Anytime somebody comes over, like, you know, if I have a new girlfriend or something, and I'll turn them out and say, lie on the bed. And they lie on the bed and they go, oh my God, I'm falling through this feels so good. I get used to it. I don't feel it anymore. But you got to have those kinds of magnets. Those will work. I don't know what kind you're talking about, so I can't tell you if they work or not. Jose Garcia, meditation and yoga, try to connect. Okay, so Jose, please don't give out advice on my channel. If people want your opinion, they'll go to your channel and ask questions. Okay, I don't know if I agree with what you're saying, so I don't want questions, comments. I don't want that. This isn't a normal. I know that's okay on other channels. I don't want it on my channel. Brittany G, question. So astrology isn't a limiting factor? No. No, that's like, it's a, you know, I've got 2 legs and 2 arms. And if I want to be a human spider, then yeah, having 2 legs and 2 arms is limiting. If I want to walk on 2 legs, if I want to surf, then being a human is a benefit. So, I mean, anything is either a limitation or a benefit. So I don't know why you would say that. I mean, there's so much. I mean, Brittany, do you see how much limitation comes out in your speech? You've been programmed with so much limiting victim mentality. It's coming out. I'm not judging you. I'm just pointing it out. So yeah, astrology is not a limiting factor. Get a reading. If you really want to know, just go and get a reading. You don't want one from me, I've got apprentices who will give you a better price, but go get a reading, find out for yourself. Jose Garcia, I'm putting you on a timeout. You're telling people to read the Book of Enoch. You're not familiar with my channel because you would know that that is not something that I promote. I'm going to put you in a timeout. If you keep writing stuff and putting your opinion on here, I'm going to block you altogether from being able to comment on my channel. Okay? Don't disrespect my channel with that kind of stuff. Okay, what happened? Did it go into a timeout? Why isn't it going into a timeout? There he goes. Pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. That's what it is. So I have somewhere, I wish I could remember off the top of my head, I have a link. Maybe you might find it in courses.thunderwizard.com. I highly recommend them. Don't get the little tiny ones. Don't waste your time with anything else. This is, in my experience, these are the most powerful magnets that you can use, and they work. They'll help heal all kinds of things. That's it. I don't see any more questions. So, what I'm going to do now, if you don't ask questions, I'm going to sell you stuff. Because that's, let me just say, that's how this works. I have clients, I have products and services. If you go to thunderwizard.com, if you want to support this channel, somebody just said, I'm going to support your channel, I'm going to share it. Great. Another way to support this channel is to go to thunderwizard.com. It's a Patreon page. Subscribe. Monthly subscriptions gives me an idea of, of what I can afford from month to month. The more people who subscribe, the more time I can spend on the videos. I'm going to tell you the truth. I love working with clients. I would much rather only be doing videos. And if that were the case, I'd be doing a video every day. I'd love doing these live Q&As. So if you want to support that and see more of that, go to thunderwizard.com and look at all the different subscription possibilities. That's what gives me the ability to do this. So, as I said, if you're not going to ask questions, I'm going to sell you stuff. So I told you about energy, the most powerful energy practice I've ever done. You'll see here, this was made 10 years ago. So you'll see me 10 years ago. And compare me then with now. And see if I look older or healthier or younger. I tell you, the proof is in the pudding. Maybe you'll think differently than I do, but anyway, here it is. See you in a couple minutes. Hi, I'm Michael Denny of SpiritTao.com, and this is Celestial Negong Part 1. Celestial Negong means that this is power that is descending from heaven. And the idea is that we are all microcosms of the entire universe. You are the entire universe, and everything around you is simply the projection. You are looking within yourself. So when you look up into the stars at night, you're actually looking deep within your own body. When you look at the sun, the moon, the trees, the flowers, you're looking within yourself. This is Negong. And so what we're doing is we're simply releasing that infinity from within us. You are tapping into and releasing the power that is within our own body, our own cells, our own organs. So one of the reasons that I'm making this DVD is in the hope that the essence and the spirit of the teaching of the Shang Qing arts can be taught to the world at large, and it is my hope that the core essence of what the Shang Qing tradition is will continue to live and grow and evolve. As we move on into the Aquarian age, everything is changing. I don't need to tell you that. The entire world is changing, and what we are seeing now is that if people hold on to external things, they are very challenged in life. And those who are making the transition into the next phase that we are moving into in the world as we approach 2012, those who look within and find their source of strength from within, those are the people who are getting the most out of life and will make the transition into the next phase of evolution most comfortably. It is my belief that the Shang Qing tradition is one method whereby human beings can evolve into the next level of being in the most comfortable fashion and be able to take advantage of the rapid, energetic, mental, and spiritual changes that are going on in the world today. Coming in July of 2009. So mark your calendars. July of 2009. Yep. That just gives you an example. That is my most popular, my most successful product that I offer. And I put it together simply because I wanted to share with people what I had been given, which was a really powerful practice. Now, the practice that I had learned isn't as simple as the Qigong. I had learned this very complicated set of forms, and I reverse engineered it. I meditated on the different things. I reverse engineered it. I just thought I was putting together some cool Qigong practice. And after putting it up, it created such a stir that I got kicked out of the sect I was in because my teachers got intimidated that I had done that on my own. And then I started getting emails from Qigong masters, Taoist masters, Tai Chi masters telling me they'd never experienced anything so powerful in their life, and that they've been doing these meditations and blue beings are appearing to them and telling them the ancestral. Like, really? Wow. You don't realize the power that you have in you. That was just, again, that was me following my soul desire. I did what made me happy. That was my joy. It gave me joy to do that, and I shared it with the world, and now there are people whose lives are being changed as a result of it. You don't know the power that you have. I'm not kidding when I say that you are omnipotent, omniscient spirit beings in these human avatars. We take ourselves so seriously. There's just no need. You know, when you tap into your real essence, and the way to do that isn't by going and listening. I mean, it's great to listen to spiritual teachers and to read books and all that. There's nothing wrong with that. If all that stuff stimulates you to take action, to do what brings you happiness, the joy, and I know because I've been there. I left my body when I was 7 years old and I went to the source of the universe. I thought I was seeing Jesus. I wasn't. But the source of the universe is a blinding light. A blinding light that is comprised of orgasmic bliss. When you are in the center of the universe, you are having the most intense, blissful orgasm anybody could ever have. I've since come to realize that that orgasmic center of bliss is me. It is my soul. So the way you know you're doing God's will is you're doing the thing that gives you joy. Now that joy will liberate you, and if you are liberated, then you can't be controlled. And so if you can't be controlled, you will be a threat. And that's when people run into the challenges. So the challenges are you dealing with your fear of not being accepted or loved by others. That is just, you know, the society can control you if you're miserable. If you're full of joy and infinite, nothing can touch you. Nobody can even come close to touching you. Okay, let's see if there are any questions now. Question, Intellectual Warrior. What astrology books would you recommend for a starter? Well, what I would recommend is going to courses.thunderwizard.com and looking for my astrology certification course. I tell you what books to buy, and then I take you through a course and I teach you my astrology. The reason I made it is so that people could learn astrology, and in my experience, the things that are most important about astrology. There's a lot of other things that you will learn after you take my course. I don't teach everything, but I teach you what I think are the most important things to be able to know how to get the most out of life. So to answer your question, go to astrology, or go up to, I think, astrologycertification.thunderwizard.com. Anyways, go to courses.thunderwizard.com and look for my astrology certification. Thundra Staves Rangel. Question: can you share what sorts of experiences, positive and negative, you have had in relation to working with the Fehu rune? I can't say I've had any negative experiences with the Fehu rune. What I can tell you is that I feel it when I do it. I mean, for me, the Fehu rune is pretty safe. So I've had good experiences with the Fehu rune. In case you don't know what the Fehu rune is, it's the rune of resources, which we usually associate with money. Fehu means cow. The word fee, like you charge somebody a fee, means you're charging somebody a cow. That's because before the Romans conquered Europe, the Germanic tribes didn't have money. They didn't even have silver or gold. In fact, when the Romans showed up and they brought like gold encrusted, the goblets, they'd be like, whoa, and they'd put that down, and then they'd pick up the wooden one and drink from that. They didn't know what to do with it. Here's the Fehu rune. Fehu means cow, in case you don't know. So for that, I've got rune courses and certifications. Again, go to courses.thunderwizard.com to see those. You can also there's all kinds of stuff on the thunderwizard.com subscription channel. I do a whole entire teaching on runes. I don't even know how many hundreds of hours. And of course, there's free stuff on the channel as well. Thunder Staves Rangel. Question: in context to the statements you've made regarding being highly sensitive to the runes. Well, that's one of the ones that is the most friendly to me. If I were to work with, let's say, I was going to say Uruz, but I'm working with Uruz. If I was to work with Yuhuaj, then we don't know. So I stay away from the ones that are intense for me. Brittany G. Question: does race, melanin have anything to do with primordial darkness? No, I don't know. Why would it? Look, science has already come to the conclusions about this. There's so much weird stuff out there. There's a guy who follows my channel. He's been nothing but respectful, but he started talking some weird stuff about, when I researched what he was saying, it was saying that white people were this hybrid race that was created by African American wizards, and like putting all the worst things of human, and that white people used to live in caves and used to eat their children, and it was just racism, but from a reverse perspective. Look, I have melanin in my skin. You can see I have blotches of darker spots. Those are called freckles. Those are the remnants, like the darker ones there. There's some, like if I were that color throughout my whole body, I would be, I'd be black. Look at that one. Look at how dark that one is. Those are remnants of my ancestors. My ancestors came from Africa 50,000 years ago. They walked up, and the Sahara Desert went through a change, and it was the grassland, and they could walk through the Sahara Desert. They walked through the Sahara Desert, got to, went through what is now Egypt. Egypt existed then. It was still what it is now. It was this hub of all kinds of crazy, powerful stuff, and they walked through Egypt, and they went up into Europe, and they populated all of Europe. And then they stayed there, and they went through 40,000 years. 40,000 years of ice ages. We've only been out of the ice ages for 10,000 years. And in order to survive in that, you had to be able to absorb vitamin D. In order to be able to absorb vitamin D, you can't have too much melanin on your skin. So the people who survived are the ones that, as time went on, the ones that had the lighter skin survived. They also interbred with Neanderthals who had been there for 200,000 years. They themselves were black Africans of a different human species. And after 200,000 years, they had white skin, blue eyes, and red hair. That's where white people get their blue eyes and red hair from. It's from the Neanderthals, who themselves were black when they first got there. So I don't know why people are so messed up about it. It's just not a big deal. You take all the skin off of my body, I'm going to be exactly the same as any other human being on the planet. It just, people are either racist or they're responding to racism. That crap about white people being created by some black wizard who, wanted to create these evil things, and they lived in caves and ate their children. That's just racism. It's just horrible. It's just so hard for me to listen and talk to. It's really hard. I don't know why people are so messed up over this whole thing. When I go out in the sun, what happens? My skin gets darker because the sun stimulates my skin to release more melanin so that I'll be darker, so that I won't get burned. It's just not that big of a deal. It hurts me when people ask these. It hurts. It's so painful. People get so wrapped up in such stupid shit. Everybody's my brother, everybody's my sister. And it hurts me when I'm separated from people, when people push me away. And it hurts me when I see other people being pushed away. It's sad. So who gives a flying fuck what melanin is? It's just something our bodies use for whatever reason. The truth is that now that we're out of the ice ages, you're going to see that people's skin is going to get darker. Unless we go back into another ice age, people will adapt. I'm living here in Australia. The sun is really strong. And white people, there's a lot of white people here, and they love to go to the beach and they love to hang out, and they have to put all kinds of stuff. Well, come back in another 5 or 10,000 years. Guess what? Australian people who are directly descended from Anglo-Saxons are going to have darker skin in order to survive the sun out here. It's just not fucking rocket science. It's not that hard. I don't know you, Brittany. I don't know anything about you. I don't know why you wrote that. It hurts me when people ask these kinds of questions. Question continued, basically from the ancient readings. What ancient readings? What ancient readings are we talking about? And just because they're ancient writings, they're written by human beings. Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck what anybody writes and what anybody says? My common sense tells me that that's all a bunch of horse shit. My common sense tells me that if I want to survive in a hot, sunny place, I'm going to survive better with darker skin. So, basically you take the whitest person, people in the world, put them on a tropical island for 20,000 years and take away their technology. You come back in 20,000 years, there's going to be a lot of dark-skinned people because the ones with white skin won't survive. So who gives a flying fuck about those writings? You know that it's bullshit. You know that. When I was in college, that was a long time ago. And, we got all kinds of stuff now, but things were worse. The further back you go in time, racism and racial stuff was worse. When I was in college, things were gnarly. There was a lot of racial tension. There were riots. There was all kinds of shit going on. And, it went both ways. And if I walked down the street in a neighborhood that wasn't my neighborhood, there was a good chance I was going to get targeted for being a little white kid. When I was in college, and I feel for the guys because I don't know what they went through, but there were African Americans that would get up in my face and start telling me about why the white man this and the white man that, and you can see the emotion in my face. It's like, I didn't do anything to you. Why are you getting on my case? It wasn't my choice to be this way. What have I done to you that you need to be getting on my case? Right? And I went to my teacher, one of my greatest teachers. He was an African American guy, and I came to him and I said, these guys are coming up to me and they're saying this, that, and the other thing. He says, that has nothing to do with you, right? And I thought about it, and he says, did you do anything to those guys? And I said, no. And he says, it's got nothing to do with you. Anybody who writes that bullshit, Anybody who writes anything that separates people from each other, I feel very sorry for. So Brittany, I don't know you, but anything that doesn't promote you feeling equal to everybody else on the planet, anything that doesn't promote you feeling like you are a family member to anybody on the planet is bullshit. I don't care how old it is. I don't care who wrote it. Common sense. My common sense experience tells me that everybody is my brother, my sister, my mother, my father. Everybody. All right, enough of that. All right, so Jawei, I don't know why he's hidden there, so let's show what he said. He said, question, how can I get my passion back? All my life I've been living to please others and neglected myself. Get this book. You can start with watching my channel, because I talk about this all the time. You can get this book, The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. Go to courses.thunderwizard.com and look for my books and get that book. It's going to take some time. You got to work through it. You're going to have to deprogram yourself. But that's why, because you're living like you already know what it is. You're living for other people. You can go to therapy. You can go to all kinds of other things, which I have nothing against. My experience is the easiest thing to do is to be able to determine what gives you the greatest joy, and then go after it, and then deal with all of the crap that's going to come up as you go after it. That's all I know how to do. Live like a warrior. Yeah, so I feel sorry for you. You're trying to please a mother that never loved you. Me too. It's very sad. I feel for you. But when you love yourself, despite what anybody else wants for you, listen. I got through this whole speech about everybody is my mother and my father. I completely abandoned my family. I walked away from everybody in my family. My mother died not in a home. She died in a private home that took care of her. But I didn't go see her because she was toxic to my happiness, and she proved she lost the right to be my mother. Everybody in my life who is my friend, who is my family member, has earned that right. And I asked myself when I was 18, 19, 20 years old, and I had an abusive older brother, and I had an alcoholic father, and I had an overprotective, screwed up mother. And I said, none of these people treat me with kindness or respect. And the guys down the street who aren't related to me, they treat me like I'm part of their family. That's my family. These people aren't. I don't care that I'm related to them. So I'm not telling you what to do or what not to do. What I am telling you is that you need to please yourself. Your commandment is to make yourself happy. And if your mom is incapable of being part of that journey, then you don't have to bring her along with you. You're not a bad person. The best thing you can do for your mother is to live for your own highest happiness. She may not like it, but her soul will remember your example and take it into her next life. My father drank himself to death, but he's going to take my example of my healthy living with him into his next life. Question, Christy Dobeck. Christy Dobeck, is this a question? In all my reading, documentary watching, still have confusion on my Rh negative blood. What is this bullshit? Who tells you that these things that you're watching are true? How do you know they're true? Because there's a bunch of them on YouTube? Listen, science has already proven. We know genetically that every single human being on the planet, we know this for a fact. It's not a theory anymore. Every single human being on the planet is descended from two people from East Africa. The question has been solved. The only reason that these things come up is because we still have racist people out there who are afraid. Racism is nothing more than fear. That's why whenever the people, the white supremacists used to come on my channel, because I worship, I'm getting emotional again. I worship my ancestors. This symbol represents equality. Thor is the protector of the human race. And the first people who worshiped Thor, I'm sorry to tell you, had dark skin. And so when these guys who wear this stuff come onto my channel, I look them in the face and I call them pussies. Because there's nothing more fear-driven than racism. So I don't know what you're watching and who gives a shit about the Rh negative, blah, blah, blah. We already know for a fact every single person on the planet is descended from two black Africans in East Africa like 200,000 years ago. Get the fuck over it already. What else? Yeah, the 51B, all of the B videos, Christy Dolbeck says, what is the title of the 51B video, or is it only on the pay site? The Patreon site is my subscription site. The Manifestation Mastery course, there's always two videos. The first one comes on the free channel and you'll get everything you need on that first one. In the second channel, I go into more detail and I give some specific things. And if you want to support the channel and learn how to manifest, then you go and you subscribe. If you don't like it, after you watch one video, you don't like it, you can unsubscribe. It'll cost you what it costs to go get a coffee every day. So yeah, it's only on the pay site. But if you don't want to pay money, there's over 600 channels, videos on my channel, and a bunch of free stuff. You don't have to pay if you don't want. But if you want it, yeah, if you want the B videos, that's where you got to go. Okay, let's see. Zeralath, question: how can we use our elements from the Hopi legend of the four tribes to heal the wounds of racism? That's really good. So, in case you don't know, I have accepted what the Hopis, my understanding. I'm not Hopi. I haven't been taught by any Hopis. I only know what I've seen that's publicly available. According to what I've seen, the Hopis believe that in the beginning, the Great Spirit, you can call him Odin if you want, I don't care, came to all of the four tribes of the human beings and said, I'm going to send you off in four different directions. You are going to master the four elements. And at the fullness of time, you will all come together and share your knowledge. So the people who went north went to learn fire, white people. What have white people mastered? Bombs, electricity, cars, which you have to start your car, create a spark, right? All things having to do with fire. They've mastered fire. They're very passionate. They're very intense. Who listens to speed metal? Fire, right? White people. So they weren't white before, but they are now. They've mastered fire. Why did they go north? Because they went into ice ages. It was fucking cold. You better master fire. You're going to freeze to death. The people who stayed in Africa, they mastered water. And if you've ever listened to Yoruba, I'm a master of Yoruba shamanic drumming. If you look on my channel, you'll see me playing with my teacher. If you listen to the way they speak, it sounds like bubbling water. That's how they talk. It sounds like water. Every single radio station, unless they're playing classical music, is playing African-inspired music. Every single rock song, even the white supremacist punk rock, it's taken from African music. Music, like water, has gone everywhere. Now everybody wears their hat like this and wants to, pulls their pants down and wants to look like, which now it's all the same thing. But at some point that used to be a racial, cultural thing, to dress like that. Now everybody does it because the music is like water, has gone everywhere. It goes everywhere. Nothing can stop it. That's what the Africans mastered. The East Asians, the yellow people, they mastered air, ether. They are the masters of energy work. The Earth people, Native Americans, they went south, which means they went over the land bridge and went all the way south to the bottom of South America. They mastered Earth. So how does this bring people together? According to the Hopis, they knew the white man was coming. They knew that if he came wearing a cross without a circle, that he had forgotten who he was, and he was going to bring pestilence and get the hell out of the way. If he shows up and he has the cross within the circle, it means he remembers who he is, and he's bringing the four elements together, and the bringing together of the different races is going to create a utopia. So my apologies to everybody. White people forgot who they were. Sorry, they did. That's my job. What I'm doing here is I'm trying to help people to remember who they are. That's why I talk about the runes. That's why I talk about my ancestors, because my ancestors knew. You know what they wore? They wore a cross within a circle. They call it Odin's eye. But they wore it until they became Christians. And then when they became Christians, they just wore the cross. And what did they do? They brought what was brought to them. The Romans brought to Northern European. If you want to know where racism started, it started with the Romans. The Romans saw white people as inferior, and they took them captive. They were the most primitive people on the planet. When you hear the way we talk about uncontacted tribes, the way we describe them, that is exactly how the Romans described the Germanic people. Because the Germanic people, Northern Europe and Germany and other places like that, it's not like it is now. It was a swamp-filled jungle. It was a swampy, jungly, forested place. It was like going into, when we go into like the Amazon. It was like that. It was spooky, and in fact, Roman armies couldn't go in there because it was too densely forested, and it was all this superstition. There were these strange-looking primitive people. Strange meaning that Romans 2,000 years ago were like people who lived in the Mediterranean. They had olive skin, they had dark eyes and dark hair. And they came in and they see these 6'2" tall guys with blonde hair and blue eyes, and they made all these stories. And the way they talked about the Germanic people is the exact same way we talk about Native Americans that haven't been contacted. Racism started there. They started taking these power. What brought the Roman Empire down? Watch my videos about racism. I'll tell you all about it. What brought the Roman Empire down is that white people from Scandinavia were running away from the Mongols, who were coming in and fought in a way that white people didn't fight back then. The way white people fought back then was you stood in a line and you showed your bravery, and you were naked. You were naked and you were painted, and you stood there with your spear and your sword, and you looked your enemy in the face and you fought. You stood there and you shook your shields at them, and then you fought. You showed your bravery. You didn't run. And here were these people from Mongolia that were coming on horseback, and they were shooting as they were going in the opposite direction. They're wiping out whole tribes of people, and these Germanic tribes didn't know how to fight them. So they're running away from these people. And they come to the Roman Empire, just like people coming up from South America and Mexico are trying to get into the United States. They're trying to escape oppression. They came to the Roman Empire and they said, we need a place to live. We're fighting for our lives. Can we please be part of the Roman Empire? And the Romans said, sure, come on in. And they created an enormous concentration camp. They took all the men of fighting age and put them on the front lines to fight the other Germanic tribal people. And then they started taking all of the people that were there and putting them into slavery, so much so that the women and the grandparents who were left, in order to survive, had to trade their children for dog meat in order to survive. And you wonder why white people became racist later. That's why. It became a disease that infected them. It infected them on such a deep level that 1,400 years later, after having forgotten who they were, they got in ships and went to other places and took other people hostage and took them as slaves and treated them as inferior. It's a disease. That's where it came from. You want to know why white people are the way they are? That's why. Sickness creates sickness. It's an infection that's been going around. It keeps going round and round and round and round. Until you know who you are, you will be doomed to repeat your history. Until you can see yourself in your enemy, you will repeat his mistakes. Sorry about that. So you asked me about how the Hopi legend heals people. Well, we're just one big giant family of humans. Get over it. Jose Garcia, man, I keep telling you not to do anything other than ask questions. So guess what? You don't get to comment anymore. You can watch, but you don't get to comment anymore. See ya. All right. Stephanie Pond, question, when does the age of Aquarius begin? I'm not sure. Some people say it's already started, but it's coming up soon. We're moving into it. I don't think we're there yet. We're moving into it. Indica Farmer. All right, that's not a question. Zeralath, question, were the Romans traitors to the tribes? I don't know what you mean by that. The Romans actually weren't nearly as racist as white people have been. White people perfected it. And the reason for that is the same reason it happens with everybody. What ends up happening is when a people are oppressed, when they're taken hostage and oppressed, in order to compensate, they learn the traits of their captors and they become better at it than them. So that's what happened. The Romans were racist. They in fact, you know, like right now, I live in Australia, and there's basically nothing but white people here. And the thing is to have dreads. Now, for white people to do that, you have to do all kinds of unnatural, you have to destroy your hair, basically. It's not cool. It's like you have to, you know, dirty it up, and, you know, you don't wash it, and you do all kinds of unnatural things. For people who have naturally curly hair, dreads is what naturally happens when you don't try and do anything to it. You just let it happen. It turns into dreads. It's like that's the natural thing that their hair wants to do. So that shows you people trying to run away from themselves, trying to look like somebody else because they don't want to be themselves. I have nothing against dreads. I'm just saying, you know, if you want to present yourself as this nature child, well, then let your hair do its natural thing. Don't try and force it into, that's just me. I don't care what you do. But what they did back then is that the elite Roman women used to dye or bleach their hair blonde so that they could look like the exotic Germanic slave girl. They'd try and look hot for their husbands. Ooh, look, I look like the Germanic slave girl. So that was like being tribal back then, was being Germanic. Do you hear how ironic that is? The most primitive people in the world are now the ones that are running the world and now feel like they're superior to everybody. 2,000 years ago, they were treated like dogs. They were given dog meat to eat and taken as slaves. Do you see the irony? It just keeps going. That's why I get so emotional when people get wrapped up in any kind of racism. It's so painful for me because when I hear how far back it goes and where it started. Let's see. Zerlath clarifying: were the Romans a part of the four tribes? Of course they were. Romans were Indo-European. So I don't know why you would say that. No, look, by then everybody had forgotten pretty much who they were. So yeah, the Romans, the East Indians, anybody who spoke an Indo-European language were part of the fire tribe. That's why they were masters of war. That's why they conquered the world. They were part of the fire tribe as well. So no, they didn't. They betrayed their fellow humans, but it wasn't like they just came out of nowhere. I mean, it started much earlier than that. It's by the time you start seeing empires come up, everybody had lost, or at least big chunks of the world had lost their connection to their original essence. Race had nothing to do with it at that point. Rain C question: is working with your Aruda Lagna the best way to connect with Balder? I don't know. Why are you asking that? Not for me. Why do you need to connect with Balder? And why do you need, your Aruda Lagna is the best way to connect with who you're supposed to be. If Balder is a deity that you need in order to achieve your essence, then yes, working with your Aruda Lagna will connect you to Balder. All right, that's it. All right, so I really went off. I really went off this time. So I'm going to go because I'm going to get ready to go do some stuff. If you want to master the one spiritual commandment, go get the book, The Secret Shamanic Commandment to a Perfect Life. Go to my books and get that book. It's a tiny book. It's cheap. If you master it, you'll be able to master your life. And if you want to take a video course, which I take you in depth how to find that one joy within you and to learn how to implement it in your life, and if you want to train yourself to counsel other people doing the same thing, then go to career.thunderwizard.com. If you want a session with me, if you give me an hour, I can help you. Every single person I've worked with, I've helped them find what their soul desire is. Whether they follow through with it or not, or accept it, some haven't been able to handle it, but I'll help anybody who wants help with that. You scroll to the bottom and purchase a session, and I'll help you with that. All right, so that's it for me. I will see you guys next time.